We're back with another
I'm not bunny.
pod. That's what I thought you were doing.
What up?
Another podcast episode. This one live and in person, in an undisclosed location. We got me. We got co-host Nick. We got special guest star, two-time All-American or whatever, Dylan. And today we have for you some NBA Finals recap. Obviously, resident Celtics fan here, resident Celtics haters here. And then we're going to go into what teams have put themselves in the best position to succeed in the future. So let's start with our Celtics fan talking about what he thinks of the Celtics winning a championship.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like I'm in an interview now.
Yeah.
It was expected and it was the inevitable. We've been the odds-on favorite since we signed Drew, and I'm super proud. Obviously, it's been a long time coming. Seeing this team grow and blossom, and all the different versions of the Celtics. I guess recent success, but like the past 7 or 8 years since we drafted Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum, has been really cool to see them evolve and learn how to play with so many different players. When you look back, right, we started like Marcus Smart and Isaiah Thomas and Avery Bradley, and now they've evolved and adapted to all these different changes. Brad Stevens stepping down into a different role, Joe Mazzulla obviously becoming the head coach, and so on and so forth. And through all the change and adversity, I think it says something that at the end of this run, both players are just happy that we got there finally, right? They're both team guys. Jalen and Jason have been all about the team for pretty much forever, and so it's been super cool to finally see them get one, and also guys like Al Horford, right, who has been in the league for whatever 17 years. He had the most playoff games played without a championship up until this point. Now I believe it's James Harden. So it was super nice to see him get one. Drew getting his second and playing out of kind of the playoff. What's the opposite of a riser?
Playoff funk, perhaps? Playoff letdown?
Playoff letdown, right? Drew's had some rough series, especially shooting the ball. And so he just played a phenomenal series as a whole and was a great leader for this unit. I hope Kristaps okay, first and foremost. Hopefully he is healthy, and I wish him the best. But obviously, happy for him. He got his ring. And everybody contributed. Just phenomenal year as an organization. And you can't ask for more of the fan. A 60-win season. It was boring, but can't complain.
So how do you respond to the allegations that Jason Tatum is in fact a loser? And can you assess his antics post winning a championship?
I think he said like all of the right things, like in every presser and like answering media questions. Like he really has not. He stayed the courts very well, which is impressive. And to me, like the people hating and the people who make fun of him, it is what it is. I do think like it comes with, like, I'm able to admit this as a Celtics fan, right? He's a borderline top 10 player. He's somewhere probably between 8 and 12, depending on who you are. And I think a lot of people have trouble getting around the fact that he just won a championship without being a top 5 player, right? We go through the past 6 championships. It was Jokic. It was Giannis. It was Steph. It was LeBron. It was
Kate Disney, technically.
Yeah, it was Kawhi in 2019, and in 2018 it was AD, right? All at the time of them winning the championship, they were all top 5, some of them top 3, even the best player in the league. So I think people just hate the fact that he's able to have success because of the full team effort. And at the end of the day, in my opinion, he played a great finals. The splits weren't there for the whole playoffs. That is what it is. He filled every other role that we asked him to do. And the whole finals MVP thing it's whatever to me. To me, it really could have gone 50-50. But in the post-game presser, I believe it was game 3 or game 4, he was asked about basically what he thinks of Jaylen Brown, like being right on with him as the finals MVP candidate. And he referred to, it was Tim Duncan, it was LeBron, and one other person did have a Finals MVP, like in their first Finals, basically. Maybe it wasn't LeBron. It might have been D Wade.
I think
it
was Tim Duncan and LeBron, if I may for a sec, were that was the stat for like win the finals and lead their team in points, rebounds, assists. And Timmy D, LeBron 4 times, and it might have been Jokic, but yeah, there was. I don't know what other stat you're thinking.
It's basically there's been legends.
Curry didn't win his first Finals MVP.
Yeah. There's been legends on dynasties or really, really great teams that just ended up not winning Finals MVP, and he referenced them. And
Tim
basically,
because David Robinson.
Yeah,
but I don't think LeBron was one. Wade might have been one.
It might have been Wade, but
Wade won.
Oh no, it was Kobe. It was Kobe. Sorry,
Kobe.
It was Kobe with Shaq. Anyway, and so the fact that he references that and is basically saying like, right, I'll be back here in no time, and hopefully I'll win Finals MVP. But in the moment, right, like you take a championship over anything, you don't care about the Finals MVP. So to me, that stuff is all just kind of overblown. And yeah, sure, he didn't have a like amazing shooting playoff run, but at the end of the day, basketball's a team sport, and the team was great, and he contributed absolutely phenomenal in this run.
Okay, a lot of content no one wants to hear. On to you. What do you have to say about, I don't know, Luka and the Mavs' performance in his first time in the NBA Finals?
I hated watching him. I blame the Brooklyn Nets for trading for Kevin Garnett and Paul Pierce and giving up Marcus Smart, Tatum, and JB for the draft picks. But still, yeah, horrible. We've seen recently how the trading a lot of unprotected picks for the aging superstar seems to kind of be a failure, aka the Brooklyn Nets again with trading for James Harden. And now the Rockets have their number 3 pick. But yeah, looking at the Mavs, I mean, Luka played like fine. In terms of like Luka expectations, it was probably like about average. Maybe it was slightly underwhelming, I would say. But also for the first 2 games, no one on the Mavericks team literally no one hit a 3-pointer except him. Like no one hit multiple 3-pointers except him. So Luka was fine. Like it is really, really hard to build a championship team around a guy like that where he's like one of the worst on-ball defenders that like just even watching the game and statistically like the blow-by rate, whatever.
Yeah.
The stats on that are the fact that he has like the 3 worst like blow-by rates in like playoff history are like Luka is like so horrible. And watching it is like it's Luke Cone. Like he's just like a traffic cone out there.
Yeah.
It's like really bad.
He also off the ball just lets guys walk to the basket without even realizing. That's the worst part to me because that's just focus.
Yeah, like defensive intensity and effort could definitely be higher. But I mean, like clearly the Celtics were like the more talented and better team. And obviously there's a ton of NBA superstars who don't win. Like it's hard to win your finals in your first finals appearance. Even the Celtics didn't do it. Like Tatum has been there before.
Mm-hmm.
The Mavs are in a predicament. I don't know. I don't know how much calorie sap they have, but they need to make some moves because
salary
cap.
Calorie sap. I definitely positive that.
Well, Kyrie was horrible, but you kind of just have to pray that if they get in that situation again in the next few years, that he can be more productive and efficient because he was atrocious. Wonder if the Boston fans got to him maybe. Because his only good game was like game 4 where he had 30.
Yeah, he still hasn't won in Boston. Yeah. After something unlucky, which he won that game.
Yeah, no, he was horrible. I mean, like the other guys, like Derek Lively, first of all, sensational. You could argue that he was the 3rd best rookie this year.
What a playoff run, yeah.
Yeah, after Wemby and Chet, you could say Derek Lively was 3rd best. He was amazing. Sure, but I mean, it could be a little reason to surprise, but the fact that he was putting up an extremely efficient and high energy, like double-double, like pretty much most nights. He was great. Peanut Butter and Jelly Washington was pretty bad. Yeah. I think like they're not like a big move away, but like if the Nets do end up shopping Mikal Bridges, like that would be such a perfect guy to put alongside the team. or if somehow the Knicks don't decide not to give OG enough money, like a 3-and-D wing like that is something they could really love to have, because
funny milk for them.
when your best defender is Derrick Jones Jr., like that's a serious problem because he's not great.
Yeah.
Any more comments, Mr. Co-host?
Yeah. In terms of what I know about what they have, they are getting rid of likely, or at least trimming down the contract of THJ. So I imagine that'll give them some flexibility to trim the edges. McHale would be good, although you just named probably the two most desirable options of the offseason other than LeBron James and Paul George, probably. So it might be rather difficult to get.
Derrick Jones Jr. is a free agent. Let's play a game. If you guys sign him, we'll play over under. Let's just say 2-year deal. Over under $11.5 million. Over under $15 million. Is that the goal salary?
I'd probably say
2 years, $15 million. He's on a minimum, by the way, right now, just as reference.
I'm not. I feel like that,
Maybe
but
15.
the DHJ might lead me to look in a different direction. There were times where he's pretty good, but I'm not sure he's a championship level starter necessarily. So I'd probably, especially with what the Celtics built, but I'd probably look in other avenues for a guy who, with the money you would give him, plus the THJ money, may better fit the team. I'm not exactly sure who that guy is at the moment, but I'd probably get a good point of attack defender, as you said.
Caruso.
That'd be hard.
But the Bulls just turned out. The Bulls just turned out too.
The Bulls are stupid. They're not. I mean, okay, we're gonna talk about best positions in the NBA.
Good transition. They're 30th.
Yeah, they are. Let's just go through the worst real quick, because I guess I did already.
Bottom 5. I feel like bottom 10 is too much. But
Brooklyn Nets and the Chicago Bulls, I think, are locks for that list. I think they have.
In no particular order.
No.
You might have to throw the Wizards.
I would say
the Jazz might be.
I would say Nets are easily last because they have no picks.
They don't really have assets.
The Suns.
The Suns are in.
Are the Suns
the problem
bottom
is,
5, or is it just
I don't
too
think
hard
the
to discredit Book and KD?
I don't think the Suns are bottom 5 when they have two top 15.
The whole team is so bad. The rest of the team's so bad, though, bro. So bad.
I feel like
an easier fix than what
Yeah.
Chicago, Brooklyn.
Well, tell me what you're going to do with that Beal contract.
Well,
we know what that fix is.
For one, Beal was coming off of injury. So I think, although he's aging, I think it's kind of safe to assume he's going to be at least more consistent than he was previous.
Let me ask
I don't
you
know
guys
what
this.
input that gives you.
Do you guys think the Suns will be higher than the 7th seed in the West next year, which is what they were this year? Reminder, the Grizzlies were basically not playing basketball this year without Ja, and the Kings are still around, and the Warriors can reload.
Well, the Suns were the 6th seed, but
They're 6th.
they were.
Oh, yeah, because they were out of play.
If you're going to say 6th, I would probably take under. I think they'll probably be like a play-in team, but I would bet on them to make the playoffs. I think, first of all, a great option for them to look at is Trey Jones of the Washington Wizards. I believe is a free agent. He would be so good for them because having their current, like, their offense hurts my brain to watch. It's like a worse version of the Brooklyn Nets. But I think they kind of just have to, at this point, it's like, you got to just like pray that you hit on your vet minimums. Like you need to find like a Kelly Oubre or a Derrick Jones Jr. who were both on like veteran minimums this year and were absolutely amazing players. You just need to like hit on them instead of signing some like bum that turned out to be horrible.
What's funny is they did hit on one of those type players, like not a minimum, but one of your key role players in Grayson Allen. And
well, he missed some of the playoffs too, didn't he?
He did. But I wonder, it is kind of funny because you brought up how they play. When was the last time KD played in like a real offense? Because like the Nets is what you just said, the Suns with better.
I mean, the Nets had the best offensive rating in NBA history.
Yeah.
No, I just mean like a functioning action.
It'd be the Warriors. It'd be the Warriors then.
I would say Nets. There was a point where Harden was really embracing a good like role as a facilitator,
yes.
and it was amazing.
He went through. He was averaging.
He went through like
he went through Heavy Harden cycle. Well, he started out as a facilitator, and then he moved along
down.
from being a facilitator to wanting to score a little bit more. And injuries happened and whatnot to push that.
Yeah,
but
the Nets do still count. I'd say.
that's fine. Moving on. No, it's like what time is it?
Oh, it's late. He was eating dinner a couple hours ago, so it's probably past.
Oh yeah, 6 hours ahead. I think. Yeah. But
Normally he's up though.
that's true. Okay, so worst situations. I think the Jazz are kind of there.
I would say though, one thing on the Jazz is that the retooling and picks they got for Gobert and D Mitch are really, really good. They got 5 firsts from Gobert and I think 4 from D Mitch. And you have Laurie, who you could probably flip for 2 more first. They don't have a lot of young talent. Like Keontae George is okay.
They just don't have their cornerstone piece.
Yeah, they don't have.
But
anyone,
if they draft
they don't have anyone good on their team. Like Laurie is not. Laurie's solid, but
he just doesn't fit their
he would be
timeline.
like a number 2 option. Like if he could hang around for like 5 more years, and they would have to like absolutely bang on a draft. Like,
and then they got the 2 sixth men.
Just because of their picks, I wouldn't put them. I would say the Wizards are in a worse scenario.
Wizards are worse, probably. Would you say the Hornets are worse as well, or no?
When you have a player of LaMelo
and Brandon Miller,
but LaMelo is a touch of an issue for them because he hasn't really been healthy for over the span of an entire season yet.
We were talking 5 worst futures in the NBA.
Oh. They do have 2. They have 2 high-level young players, but one of them is like quite the peculiar situation for them. When they're not really healthy. I don't know.
I still just think a player of that talent and that caliber is like that. For example, if the Jazz had LaMelo, like they'd be in a better spot. I feel like that's inarguable. You know what I mean? So I think the Hornets are in a better spot. I don't know about bottom 5. I'd say locks are Wizards and Nets for sure.
And Bulls.
Ooh.
Bulls. Okay. What do you think about the Warriors?
They still have Curry, so that kind of hurts.
But
and they still have pieces, and they're still 3 years removed from a championship with relatively the same roster.
They're only 2 championships removed. There's 2 years removed. There's 2022. Giannis was 2021. Bubble was 2020.
Well, yes.
Yeah, they're 2 NBA seasons removed. They're only 2 NBA seasons removed.
Like the Warriors' centerpieces are change. Like besides Curry's gonna stay, but they don't.
That's
have that
true. If
second guy anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah, they
Wiggins
have an
had a down
issue.
year, but you can't really move him if he continues to have a down year. Dre's old and wants to fight everybody.
They're definitely aging. Like I don't know if I'd have them in the top half of the NBA.
They're not worse, but like they need.
They're definitely there. Like they have to do something.
Position.
Oh no, I'm not. They're definitely not bottom 5.
Yeah. No, that's a good point though. Like
I mean, they're not that far off from bottom 5.
Yeah,
but
no, not at all.
They're probably like bottom 15.
Yeah, I think they're definitely bottom.
Bottom half of the league. Yeah, their future, like especially because Clay could leave this offseason. You never know.
True.
And they're aging, and their best young piece. The Jordan Poole trade was pretty horrible. I mean, looking
but
back,
the Jordan Poole trade didn't really work out for anybody.
Well, that's true. It was a lose-lose. But
by the end of it,
Jonathan
Poole ended up on the bench.
Kuminga is their only good young piece.
Yeah.
Clay is getting worse at basketball. Draymond is getting worse at brain functionality.
Yeah.
And then Steph is slowing down slightly. He's still great, but
you're right. He's slowing down.
They probably have 2 years left of having a shot at any playoff.
Their window.
They need Wiggins to bounce back, and they need Kuminga to emerge as the.
Well, he kind of did last. He was good.
He was.
What team would you? Whose spot would you rather be in, the Suns or the Warriors? It's 2 ugly spots, honestly.
I think that I guess the Warriors because they have a younger piece that's contributing, but I feel like the Suns
the Warriors
are
have more
closer
draft picks than the Suns.
The Suns are closer to contention.
The Suns basically got 2 washed up stars now.
Yeah,
or they're getting there.
KD's still there. He's
Bradley Beal
is definitely washed.
Yeah, I don't know. I think they're pretty comparable.
I think I'd still rather be in the Warriors position.
That Suns team is just too many people.
I think if you're talking strictly position, it's closer. But then when you take into the context that like the Warriors have won their stuff, like as a Warriors fan, you could be like, we could be horrible for the next like 10 years.
I don't
mean,
mean
I know,
right?
obviously.
Yeah.
But like even in a GM spot, you can be content with being horrible and like ruining your future because you like it worked. Like the Warriors are on the downslope of like successful like building, and the Suns are on the downslope of like they had their chance in 2021 and then blew it to a lead. But yeah, I mean, in terms of
They're up 2-0.
Yeah, at this point
Over the
for the
Bucks,
Warriors, their priority is just to give Curry a good ride
Yeah.
off the nose. That's almost that.
Oh,
is more
another
prioritized over the championship.
question I've heard tossed around. If you're the Warriors, or let's say you're the GM of the Warriors, put yourself in that position. Are you this is strictly business with Clay, or are you giving him his bag because of his past contributions to your team and you want to set your guy up for like his future past the NBA? Does that make sense? Like, let's say Clay's asking for $40 million a year, and I don't know. To me, I'm just proposing a situation. Let's say, in my opinion, he's probably worth 2 years, 50, right, 25 a year, right? If you're a team that needs shooting, then you can justify giving him that money. If you're the Warriors, are you going to err on the, more expensive side because you want to like help your guy out who's helped you, or are you thinking business only, organization first, as the GM?
I honestly think it's up to Curry. I think if he wants Clay, then you probably go and get Clay. But I don't know. I mean, I think there's a certain line, right? He can't be ridiculous about what he's asking for. Because there's a line, and I think the public does matter in situations like this. And there's a line to be crossed where the fans will go, that's crazy, that's fine that you let him go. And for a certain contract, they'll be like, it's ridiculous you didn't bring him back after all he's done for you. So I think it's very contract dependent, and it's also very Curry dependent. And I'd actually let Curry be involved, not in the negotiations themselves, but in a conversation of how much do you really want this guy back?
Mhm.
Because like I said, your priority over anything is giving Curry a good ride in the last couple of years of his career. And if he considers a good ride to be with his guy,
With Clay, yeah.
then you do that. If he still wants to compete for a championship and you don't think that's the right move, then you have to move somewhere else.
Yeah. How about you, Lee? Are you setting your guy up? Like,
I might just give him like a 1 year, see how he does.
offer him that?
Yeah.
I think Clay might
I
turn
don't
down a
think
1 year
I don't
contract.
think he wants a 1 year.
Maybe like a 1 or 2 year, see it, like not paying a ridiculous amount, but
Still pay him a good price.
yeah.
He can still be a winning basketball player.
I mean,
He could definitely add like
He's
experience for the bench, but
yeah.
He didn't shoot high volume 38 from three, I believe, this year. So it's still above average and taking volume into account.
It's not the Clay we've
I
seen.
wouldn't give him more than 2
He
years.
is also not the same defender
No,
anymore. I mean, that just is injury. But
I think it depends on Clay's mentality. Actually, I think if he still thinks like he's gonna play like 5+ years and be like really good, I would let him go get the bag from Orlando or something. But if he like kind of accepts that his career's winding down, he's like, maybe I'll have like 2 more good years and then like a send off. And you're like, sure, I'll throw him a bag for like 3 years, But if they're in contention for like a 4 or 5 year big boy contract, no.
What's up, guy?
Okay. Hello.
Yeah.
All right. Hey, guests are ranking. Which NBA team is in the worst situation?
Man!
Hold on.
I know.
We already mentioned the
Did
Wizards,
we get-
but we haven't talked much about
Did
it.
we get 3 answers for the Wizards?
We got Wizards, Nets, and Bulls as the.
Oh, yeah, but yes, everybody said Wizards.
Yep, that's us.
I think worst position, no.
I think Brooklyn is.
I
I think
the
Brooklyn is.
Because the Nets have no picks, no future, no real good guys to look forward to pushing. Because Mikhail's too old to really look at him as a piece. And it's like, I guess it's Cam Thomas is probably your biggest asset towards your future. And it's like, what are their draft picks like?
They're
They
all
traded them
gone.
to the Rockets.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Until
They might be.
They
worse.
might have like the Suns picks.
What were your picks from the Beal trade again? I don't even remember. nothing. Yeah.
It was like a small-
It was a contract done.
Yeah.
It was a contract done.
We got like 2 seconds.
Yeah.
They got Chris Paul and like.
Oh yeah.
The Suns
we
for
got
Oh,
Chris
see, they
Paul
might
and
have the
Jordan
Warriors
Poole.
first though.
Oh, you might. That's true.
Ooh, I don't know. That's a good question.
But either way, getting those picks or not, you still have more picks than the Nets.
Yeah, they got Johnny Davis.
And Bilal or
No.
Bilal
Bilal
and
Denny.
number 2 pick in
Bilal,
the draft.
Denny,
I would
JP.
rather have Bilal and Denny than the Nets situation in terms of building for your future.
Also, thinking about it, the Wizards have a chance at flag next year, whereas the
Yeah.
Nets, one, the Kale might make them too good, but also I don't know if they have their own pick next year.
That's true. The Rockets.
I don't think they do, Nick.
I think the Rockets might have
The Rockets.
Rockets.
I'm pretty sure the
Yeah,
Rockets.
exactly. Dude, the Rockets. I've been saying this.
But you can't.
Rockets are in such a good. I
Yo,
love the
what-
Rockets situation.
Where do you have the Rockets on your list? AP posted
Well,
the picks.
okay. It was
Top 10, like,
I saw it.
It was
Do you have a
positioned
rank
to, no, because it was positioned to win a future championship, and I still think they're behind. It was the Magic, and I still think they're behind them because they don't have the top guy that the Magic have, which is Paolo. Which, as you were saying earlier, for Jason Tatum, you don't necessarily have to be top 5. But I don't really think they have anyone who can be currently
They don't
the
have-
number 1 option on the
The
championship
Rockets?
team.
Bro doesn't know about El Prince.
Even though I love Kobe.
Sengun. So
And I think they're at a weird stance identity wise where they have some elite level defenders like a Dylan Brooks and like a Amen Thompson, but you also have some, let's say, certified shot chuckers like Jalen Green. So it's like I just am not sure. Their identity isn't as strong as the teams I had ahead of them, and their talent isn't as strong as the teams I had ahead of them. I'd say you could argue they're potentially more talented than the Magic, but even that would be a stretch for me because Suggs, Paolo, Franz, I think sort of outmatch whatever you got going for them.
I think from the Rockets we'll see like a Thunder or Magic type progression soon though. I think they'll
Yeah.
be. I think they could be a. I mean, they were almost playing this year. They snuck up on the Warriors.
dude, that second half of the
That was
season,
awesome.
that was.
This Jalen Green, I think it was one like maybe
Oh, he was-
April. He averaged like 30 a game in April or
Yeah.
something like that. It was ridiculous.
It was March.
I don't know because the West is so good and the Grizzlies could be healthy this year. Like it's hard to say they'll be a playoff team, but maybe they could be like a play-in team. Maybe even knock like the Warriors out.
That was the other part that did factor in for me is even though I had West teams high, it's harder to win a championship in the West than it is in the East right now because if you build up your team, you can run through less resistance.
Yeah, look at how easy it was to win in the East.
Yeah, injuries fell the right way, but regardless, it was going to be pretty easy for the Celtics to win in the East.
Yeah.
Um,
Jalen and Green in the month of March averaged 28, 6, and 4.
yeah, that's insane. Yeah, he was going nuts.
Yeah.
That was childbirth.
Oh yes, that was it.
Are you serious?
Childbirth always- No, it always makes me feel better.
Was
But
it post childbirth?
It was. Yeah.
My God. He had 37 against the Wizards on 65% from the field. He had 41 against the Jazz on 68% from the field. And he had 37 against the Thunder on 58% from the field. Yeah,
He's playing better. I think it might depend on Amen and Jabari Smith. Because Jabari Smith has not been good yet.
He just hasn't progressed in the way that I like him to.
Not like Jabari Parker.
Did they take him over?
They took him.
Or is he 3? Well, did it go Paolo, Chet, and then Jabari?
Yes, it did.
They didn't really miss out on. But yeah, we're now moving on to the reverse side, the top 10 best situations. Although I think we're more targeted on championship
Yeah.
winning instead of
The top
situation
10.
in general.
likely, I guess you could say, to win a championship or best set up to win a
That's better
championship,
to win a chip.
which is different than best future,
Yeah.
right? I would probably have the Rockets in the
Yeah.
top 10 if it was best future.
Yeah.
But Aiden, I think you do raise a good point about them maybe not being top 10 in the future to win a championship.
Sorry, one thing I just quickly thought of this. If the Hawks didn't get the number 1 pick in this year's draft, they would be in that bottom 5.
100%.
That number 1 pick saved them.
It actually did.
Although this draft isn't great, but still.
Alex,
All right.
We're getting some.
yeah, he might fall.
Is he good?
Moving on.
No.
I think
He ain't. No one's good in this draft.
Harrison Barnes player comp. That's what I saw.
Good.
You guys get a glue guy. You still have Stellar.
I think we have Harrison Barnes.
No.
Rashawn Holmes. Yeah.
Rashawn.
Another player.
Yeah.
We all have Celtics in our own.
Yeah. Celtics are number 1. Well,
Can you pull up your list?
Pull up my list and just go off.
Was that Nuggets?
It was the Thunder.
Which I agree with.
Yeah, I would agree.
2 was the Thunder, and then 3 I had the Nuggets.
Although,
I think.
yeah. Those two are pretty interchangeable.
Yeah.
Like
The
Jamal
Nuggets
Murray
is
and
just-
MPJ are both still very young. Jokic might have just hit 30. Aaron Gordon might not be 30.
Next.
My argument for the Thunder was they have more moves they can.
Yeah, they have a ton
Yeah.
of picks and everything.
Um,
Where do you have the Knicks?
7. What do you?
I got a
no,
comment.
no,
It's they have a plethora of pick. I think in terms of assets, they're like top 5. I think in the league. Now, some of that, I just mean in terms of total picks. I'm not saying some of that, as I said to Nick yesterday, is kind of useless. Like they have 24, 26, and 27 in this draft or something like that.
You could hit on one. Like
Yeah,
you get
yeah.
3 chances.
But you get 3
Like
chances.
realistically,
to
you get
hit
3
on a good
chances
player.
to get your guy.
And there have still been good players in bad drafts, as we've seen, or supposedly bad drafts. I think they have the contracts. They also, in my mind, have a lot of options because they have 11 quality players, and they have contracts to move for a star should that come up. Like we just, I think, made Boyan's guaranteed or picked up his option or something, specifically so we'd have the use of that contract. I think it's entirely possible that fully healthy, they've had the pedigree of a team that went, what was it? It was like 12-30. So a small sample size, but it was elite level play. It was the best net rating in the league. They have, I think, the star enough to get there with the right pieces. I think Brunson's enough. And we've had this argument before. I know he disagrees. So to me, they have the players right now to push for a team. They have the contracts to make a trade for a star should it not work out with their current roster. And they have the assets to add to their current roster to turn it into a championship team. Whereas the teams right below
The Bucks.
Spurs, Magic.
the Bucks. I really do not like the Bucks, in all honesty.
That's why.
I think Giannis is getting close to his breaking point for them. I think all of their I don't really believe in Dame, in all honesty. I think he's aging and he's regressing.
Anthony Rendo.
I think Chris Middleton, like all of their quality players outside of Giannis, I think are past the point where they're able to contribute on a championship team in the roles that they're currently in. So I don't think Dame. I think Dame could be the number 2 option, but not at $55 million a year or whatever he is making now, because that limits your abilities to add other guys. I think Chris is too old. I think Brook Lopez is a little too old, and I think they don't have a good coach to really bring it all together. So I'm not really loving where they're at right now, in all honesty.
I think the Bucks took the Pacers to 6 with Giannis playing 0 games and Dame only playing 2 games. Chris Middleton missing time, and the Knicks went to 7 with the Pacers, only 1 game better, and they had their best player for the whole series.
They had so many injuries.
They did have a lot, but I would say that
Incredible
missing
amount of
Giannis and
injuries.
Dame for pretty much the whole series is worse than what the Knicks had.
It's not much worse though.
The Bucks
But-
would have
no,
won.
really,
And then
but
beat
We were
the
missing
Knicks.
an
Giannis-
entire second.
Giannis is a
What are we saying?
Giannis is a top 5 guaranteed, maybe like
If
top
both
3
teams are
guaranteed.
fully healthy, the Bucks would have won.
See, I don't know that that's true. I really don't know.
They were really poorly coached.
They were very
Really
poorly
poorly
coached.
coached.
I guess that's a
And
mistake.
this isn't.
They're managing.
Yeah, and like I said, I still don't trust their pieces. I also think it is more likely for them that injuries are sustained than it is for the Knicks to sustain the same injuries. Julius Randle had been an Iron Man until he got hurt. He had played 81, 82 games the past couple of seasons. So I think OG is a different case because he has shown some weakness in terms of his ability to stay on the floor. But I think Chris Middleton's much less likely to stay on the floor. I think as they age, they face more injuries. That's just the natural progression of an athlete in professional play. And I think that Giannis is the only string holding them together, really. What I will say, if you have them above the Knicks because they have Giannis Antetokounmpo, I have no argument for it. That's completely okay with me.
Yeah.
I understand that. They have the best player out of the 2, and it's by a wide margin.
They definitely have
So
a
that's
shorter
perfectly
window than the
But
Knicks, which
that
makes sense for it.
Not
Next
I have a
time.
question for all of you guys, but flooded about the Knicks. Do you think the more likely, because this is most likely to win a championship, the more likely route to a Knicks raising Larry O'Brien is trading for a star or is running back this team 3 times over? I guess.
Trading Julius Randle.
I think you run it back, you see what your weaknesses are, and you use your assets to attack those. That's the way I go because, like I said, they have 11. They have 11 tradable players. Let me just put it that way, and tradable for like key components of a championship team.
Sure.
So I would probably try and trade you at least 2 of the first round picks this year if you can get anything for them. If not, I think it's fine to just draft players to try and add to them. But I think you look at where the roster's at, you look at what your weaknesses are, and you trade the guys you need to on the back end to push up your depth and make it because they already have good depth. But I think they have almost too much at this point, and especially when you add on the picks, that you use it to see where you're at, address your weaknesses, and become a championship contending team.
So headed into this season, you want to run it back.
Yeah.
I think they will.
I'm not saying that's
That's
where
fair.
They're
No,
pretty stubborn.
That's fair.
And the next
Next trade for Wizards role player. Wizards role player wins championship.
yeah, exactly. All you got to do is wait it out. Who's going to trade them?
All you gotta do is trade with the Wizards.
Yeah, actually, we have needed a second initiator when Brunson's out of the game, so Trey Jones, could be a potential move. But
Ray Jones. I think you guys should take Johnny Davis.
anyway, what were the other key ones that we had?
Sixers at 6.
Sixers
Honestly,
at
I'd like
could
to
be
be
higher,
bigger.
could be lower. It's a very big boom or bust for them because they have 4 active players on their roster or something like that.
But you have no
But
idea.
they do
what
have,
they're
I believe they have Maxi locked
Yeah, you have
up.
no idea what they're going to do.
I know they have Embiid locked up.
Yeah.
What I will say is, and this is sort of similar to the Knicks, the front office has shown to me they're getting closer to building a team that properly is around Joel Embiid. The only real weakness was to me, with some of their offensive capabilities, was they got corner shooters who then couldn't shoot in the corners when they needed them to, a.k.a. Tobias Harris, and even Nick Batum in that series. Buddy Hield
Yeah,
finally
he
got
was
it going at the end.
I
But
mean, what, 1 game, 2 games?
yeah, no, literally the last game.
Yeah.
The last game.
It was game 7, right?
Yeah.
You need him to be
Or
ready.
game 6. But I think their front office is much more competent than it used to be, in all honesty. I think they have a lot of flexibility, and they have the most important thing, which is a championship level star and a championship level second option. I mean, they've one of the best second options in the NBA, and I think that makes it that much easier. So that's where I had them. I only had them behind the Mavericks because the Mavericks have had more of the pedigree, and there's also
just made the finals.
exactly.
Yeah.
And there's also the other end of the spectrum where they could make a bad contract, and then their championship window to me
Sixers?
is small, or at least their window to compete for a championship before they blow up the team.
Probably
is
2
small.
years.
Yeah.
I would say.
Because they've grown tired of this run it back with Joel and see what happens thing.
The process is not
and it's
produced results so far.
yeah. So I think they could easily blow it up, and that sort of kept them lower for me than
Knicks can
flying
do
past the Mavericks.
All right. It is 8 o'clock.
Yeah.
Pick one.
Shall we play?
Yes.
All right, anything else to say? Okay, that has been it. We will see you guys next time.
I hate the Celtics.
We all do. Let's see you guys.
I missed the Celtics.